Hey, welcome back. We have a knife here just in from White Mountain Knives. If you watch the channel, you know that's like my favorite place to buy a knife from if I can. They have great customer service, always good pricing. Look out for their pretty consistent 10% off discounts. Just makes you feel good buying from them. And there it is. This is a channel first time bringing a Miguron on the channel, so it's exciting. Let's get into it. Let's see. Trying to figure out the best way to open this guy here. Looks like they got a little QC passed sticker in there. We'll have to get through also. But I think we're just gonna let this as a budget knife. Just not treat it like it's something crazy, right? Let's get rid of this packaging. All right. And I had seen this, it's actually the first time in a while I made a purchase like this, where I saw it on the Metal Complex channel in his top 15 budget EDC knives ever. And so that motivated me to grab it, actually, because it was really the only one on that top 15 list that I either didn't have, didn't agree with, or thought was, worth looking at. So this really just caught my eye on the design. Let's see what we think. Do not eat. That is not a snack. All right. Miguron. It's my first time handling a Miguron. Never done it before. A little greasy here on the pocket clip, but no big deal. First impressions, a little clunky, a little big. First impressions on action, excellent. Very, very good. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of funny. I've recently been thinking about the idea of designing a knife, and it's not far away from this, actually. It's almost kind of embarrassing to say it, but this is not very far from exactly what I would design from like a overall profile perspective. This is pretty much like my perfect size. Now it's a little thick because of the like G10 on top of steel liner. So it's a little heavy, a little thicker than I would like for what it is. Like I wouldn't mind this weight if it was like a full titanium knife or something, but for like a G10 variant, I'd expect it to be a little lighter, honestly. You can see it is milled out in this under the scales. The steel is milled out, but this side part of the lock bar isn't. That is back there, but it's probably got to be a good, if I had to guess, 4 ounces, maybe a touch under, if we're lucky here. Let's see. Yeah, there you go, 4 ounces flat. So like for me, for what it is, make sure I didn't mess something up there. I'd want this to be more like a 3.5 ounce knife for like a budget EDC, but good centering, great action. I mean, really great action. Yeah, put the right liners on this knife, and it's a total winner. Now, I was playing around with 2 different blade shapes that I think are really good EDC blade shapes, and this is close to one of them. It's not quite the same, but it's pretty damn close. The other one's more of like a sheep's foot. Like imagine this blade on this knife, basically, just something that would turn down at the end instead of turning up. Let's see if we can virtualize that a little bit here. So imagine this knife had that blade on it. Maybe we'll put this one away and go like that. And that's pretty much what I want for an EDC if it's not this knife anyways. But like in terms of like a frame lock or a liner lock. But yeah, I see why Metal Complex gave this one, such high review. I will say the detent's like a touch light. I wish it was just like 20% heavier. I don't need some crazy detent, but as you can see there, I was able to flip it out. So I don't know if that would get better or worse over time, but it would be nice if that was just a little better. But damn, overall, This thing's freaking sweet. Little double bounce at the end, but it ends up inside at the end. So yeah, maybe 20 to 50% stronger on the detent, but the good news about how it is that there's not this big, it's pretty easy to get out of there for a nice little rollout. Reverse flip is just about perfect. Could probably use a slightly longer fuller. Like in my design, I'd go a little further here to probably right about there. I don't know why everyone thinks these two fingers need to be like separate from each other. I think they actually feel better when they're in the relief together than when they're apart, personally. But it's like a pretty common knife design. So yeah, nice little pocket clip on it. It looks like it's a milled pocket clip, maybe? It's like a nice milled pocket clip. Let me try it in the pocket. It's a little ugly. It's like a little too thin for the knife profile. You would think this would be like a little thicker, just the way it looks. Looks a little out of place, just cosmetically, but goes in the pocket nicely. It's not like super easy to get in there, but it's not bad. These pants probably aren't the best actually example. Let me try something. Yeah, these are actually, this pocket clip works really well. This particular design, I don't love having like the satin hardware bead blast blade and then like black. Like this doesn't go together. I would go either black on the hardware or bead blast these so they match the blade or something. I go bead blast here and then it all kind of match, but it's not a big deal. Yeah, it's a nice little knife. It's got a nice little backspacer on there. Great in hand. A little hot spotty. I'm not quite sure what it is. Maybe like the inside of the scale here or something. Just a little, doesn't feel super great to grab. Maybe it's just a little too square on the edges. It could be like chamfered on the edges a little bit, but overall it feels pretty damn good. The pocket clip's feel just a little more in the hand than you would think based on looking at it. Nice little choke up point. Like you can totally work with this thing. Do whatever you need to do with it with that little choke up there. That's kind of nice. It is a little ramped where I'd be a little afraid of sliding out of it. So in an ideal world, I'd make that a little more, like I guess what they're trying to do is make this all unified here, but I would just make that whole thing a little more where you feel like your fingers in the pocket, like this guy. You feel like you can pull against it, whereas there's not really a purchase you can get there to stop your finger from sliding forward. Another alternative is something like this, where you just kind of, that's the last point that you grab. You don't really choke up on this one. And you just get a little more blade out of it, but I kind of go either way on having a finger choil or not. If I were to think about what this is, it reminds me a little bit of a mix of like a Strider SNG and the SPK Lamia. It's very reminiscent of that, to the point where you're just talking about like there's really no need. This could just be one thing here, and then it's a little more flexible for the hand. Like this feels better in the hand than having all these like swoops. It's too many swoops for what it is, but very similar blade profile, very similar on the thumb hole in terms of like the distance. Especially I find both of these to be really effective thumb holes because they're a little further from the pivot. Sometimes they pull the thumb hole all the way up to here and you just like can't really get into it to like get around the scale. When it's this far back, you can get around the scale really easily, which I like. I think the SPK Lamia does that really well, where the thumb hole's far enough from the pivot that you can really load up and get a nice deployment out of it like that. Whereas, I don't know if I even have an example here. Maybe the Rosie. This, you know, I'm basically all the way up into the scale. It's kind of hard. This one's particularly good just because the action's so good on the Rosie. You're just going to get it anyways, is kind of the thing. But I'd rather the Rosie be kind of like stop here, so I can kind of do it without having to put my finger all the way up into the scale here. Rosie's another one that's kind of integrated like that, where you got this kind of integrated finger choil. It's kind of like a Rosie and a Strider and a Lamia came together and that little knife baby. So, I mean, those are some of my favorite knives, aside from the Strider. I say Strider just because it's kind of this blade shape with this finger choil. It kind of has that thing going on where it's like 30-70 kind of thing. I'd say this is in that profile range. I don't know what the whole big deal is with cutting edge. I guess it lasts longer or whatever, but I don't personally find a need for a lot of cutting edge. To me, actually, the thing I used 80% of the time, which is why I like this blade shape so much, is like that much of the blade. I barely use this part of the blade, honestly. I do, but not nearly as much. I mean, 5 to 10 times more usage on the front of the blade. So it's 4 ounces, just under 3 inches of cutting edges is fine, like 2 point, just about just right. Just keep it legal in a lot of states. So that's perfect. Well, I guess it's actually probably not, because you need a 3-inch blade, and this is definitely more than a 3-inch blade. It's 3 1/4, so I guess they kind of blew that. About 7.5, 7.65 on the overall length. So this is pretty freaking ideal. I do agree. This is a pretty damn good budget knife. You can get this for 50 bucks. And yeah, this is the first budget knife I've grabbed in a while that was compelling enough for me to go, that's pretty perfect. So I decided to buy it. There's certainly some things that I've called out here that I don't love, but overall, that's pretty choice. It's got a nice little flat grind on there that goes all the way to the top, making it pretty slicey. I see the blade size, and I think a lot of the blade size of the Wee Banter there, pretty similar. It's maybe even a little wider, but just a very similar usable edge to the Banter, plus the finger choil. It's almost like a big Banter, huh? Very similar there. Now I think the Banter pulls this all off in a much smaller, is like a 7-inch overall length knife, and you don't lose a lot of functionality. So like I'd still, wow, only 6.5. I'd still give the nod to the Wee Banter, because I feel like you can do everything you can with the Wee Banter. Deployment could be a little better. I've got some scales coming in the mail that give some relief here for the thumb studs. We'll see how that feels. But you can see again some of these design criteria that carry over. CGRD Pyrite's kind of in there in that similar range. Sorry, that's the echo. The Pyrite here. These are all very similar knives in a lot of ways, and there's a reason these are so popular. These are just good. This is a good knife design. The more you go away from exactly this, in my opinion, the less likely it is to be, it's almost like a fashion over function a lot of times. The less likely a knife is to be super functional. Now, this one does have a little bit of blade play, not forward back. Forward back is rock solid. Let me try and tighten that up and see if we lose some of that nice action, because that action's pretty awesome. Also note, all T8 hardware everywhere. That's really nice. Boom, ba-doom, ba-doom. There's my T8, by far my most used tool. Just gave it a very small touch there. Almost entirely eliminated the play. Just a little side-to-side play, nothing too big. Okay. Still really nice on the action, so that didn't really change much. If anything, it may have actually just tightened it up and made it feel even a little better. Now I got no blade play, so it just came with a little bit of blade play from the factory. Watch out for that if you grab one of these. But yeah, this thing's sweet. Very nice. It's not, I'm not about to go sell every knife in my collection for this, but yeah, if you're just looking for a really good $50 budget knife, you're gonna be hard pressed to beat that, aside from if you want to go button lock. I go Pyrite over that knife just because the overall feel of the Pyrite I like a little more. And if you can spend $100, I'd go with the Wee Banter, because I feel like you get a more efficient knife. It's lighter, you get the same cutting edge, a little more fun on the action here. You can't roll it out as well. That has an advantage on rolling it out. This has a stronger detent, but a slightly nicer knife, and you can see really there's a huge difference in the amount of space that takes up versus that. And obviously these are in a totally different category that shouldn't even be on the same table, all things considered, aside from the fact that they're both knives. So yeah, this one's well rated for me. It's definitely in my top 10 budget designs I've felt. Like the biggest drawback to me is this handle is just way too thick for what it is. Like the banter handle's already thick, and look how much thicker this is than that. That's just inefficient. Like do this whole thing in G10, or create a titanium version. I don't know. Make this embedded liner. Something needs to change there to make that a little more efficient. Now the benefit of it is you get a really nice thick lock bar. Like that feels really good. They got a little bit of relief there, just a little bit, right? That's all we're asking for. Ben, come on, man. A little bit of relief. That would have changed this knife entirely. But check out the lock bar thickness on this. It's just a little, like this is even a pretty good lock bar. It's a little more robust than your average button knife, your average budget knife. So I appreciate that personally. And good feel like around the thumb hole. It's like nicely chamfered. It's not like super knocked down, but it's like rounded off a little bit. I don't even know if it's chamfered. Yeah, it is. Just enough. 14C 28N. You got a great blade steel there. Great all-arounder. Stainless. It's a great knife. It's a great knife. No lanyard hole. Who needs one? Yeah, it's a good like full-size knife with a less than full-size blade shape, cutting edge, because they're optimizing for ergos. There's something a little awkward though on these ergos. Like it just does not feel great to choke up on it. I wish they had done a little something on the choke up. It just doesn't feel perfect, to the point where I would have probably just said don't, like made this feel a little better here. Make this kind of a bigger 2-finger choil and take this closed. Just give yourself a little sharpening choil there like that. Call it a day. But you're really splitting hairs when after your White Mountain discount you're paying $45 shipped for a knife that could probably last you 20-30 years of pretty consistent use from what I'm feeling. This thing feels very solid. It's good blade steel. Like this is a nice freaking knife. Guess we could just do a quick edge test while we're at it. This is one of those things you got to look out for in a budget knife, is do they actually sharpen it? Hell, any knife, you just never know. It's not like killer. Like I've got like a blunt spot right there. If you give it like a little slice cut, it gets a little better, but it's not the best edge I've ever felt. Not as good as like a V-Edge or a Civivi CGRB. So it's not the best edge ever. However, there's nothing here that wouldn't stop you from either just stropping it up into something really nice or getting it on par with, like one of these guys. This is used too, but it's still so much better, even though that's used. I only use that one a lot, but yeah, this cannot do that. So not the best edge of any budget knife I've ever seen. And if you're going, oh, well, that we banter cost twice as much, man. Also used is this pyrite here. This one's used a little more. So let me see. I don't think this Echo has been used too much, but as an example, there you go. Looks like I need to sharpen my pyrite. But yeah, overall, great knife. Can't complain about really anything too much. Obviously, I've complained about some things there, but yeah, definitely checks a lot of boxes and would definitely be on my recommendation list. And I don't have a lot of budget knives I recommend. It's a very, very short list. It's like the Civivi Badlands Vagabond, which is discontinued. I consider this a budget knife because it's $100, but a lot of people wouldn't. It is the Pyrite and Echo. And it is the, what else? I got a couple of them here. The Chevalier is fine. I actually sold mine because I just didn't love it, but it's fine. It's recommendable, but it's not great. Civivi Badlands Vagabond was a great one. Unfortunately, it's gone now, I think, or at least the Damascus one I have there is gone. What else do I have here? Is another wee banter. There's another banter there. I'll be doing a video coming up on that. Oh, what am I thinking? How can I forget one of my favorites? The name of it just slipped my mind. Where is it? I can't find it, so that's making it hard for me to mention it. QB Momentum. What a great budget knife that one is. QB Momentum for sure is an awesome one. I can't believe this video is going on 20 minutes. Not very often that I do a 20-minute video on a budget knife, but it's motivating me to look at this. This is a very, very competitive one. These two would be the two closest in terms of feel. So if you're going like I've never really felt some of those other knives, these two feel like they're made in the same factory. You can see a very similar handle approach where you don't have like an embedded liner. Let me get enough light on here. I don't know what's going on with my lighting right now. You got these kind of, you know, clunky, big, thick liners. They both feel very heavy, but good action. This one has great action, honestly. This Momentum, a little light on the detent is the one thing about the QB. Very easy to throw that one open because the detent kind of sucks. So those two are really similar in size and feel. If you know the QB, it's a really good reference point, similar in price too. These guys are light on detent too, or at least the ones I got. The one thing I'll say about the Pyrite, the CGRB Pyrite Echo, oh, that one's pretty good. That part, oh, there it came out. Don't think you can do that with this guy. Let's double check. No, you can't do that with the wee banter. Much stronger detent here. And you can feel it, and it feels good. These guys, when they have too strong of detent, they don't feel very good. So I actually have sent a couple back that had strong detent, and they just did not feel good. Maybe it's because they just have such pointy, pokey, and look, I got totally calloused up hands from not only all the knife stuff I do, but from working the axe in the backyard and stuff. So, yeah, this thing. Just why did they put, I mean, I can just shave this off of here with a file or something, but why did they put that last step on there? There's just no reason for that to make it pokey. It's that stupid Chris Reeves pokey thumb style. It drives me crazy. Part of the reason I like that a little more. So I think that's all for now. Overall, good to see another great budget knife. You probably know about this a lot longer than I have, but yeah. Saw it the other day and I was like, hey, it's about time I got my hands on a Miguron. Now I kind of know what to expect. The Valona is super well known. I could see the Valona maybe even feeling a little more robust than this, but it's a good budget feeling budget knife. Like, it feels like a budget knife, but it's also quality and it would work for a long time, I bet. The bearings, I'm trying to see if sometimes you get these really tiny bearings on these knives. The bearings do look kind of tiny in there, but not too crazy versus some of the ones I've seen in the past. So yeah, all for now. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.